Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Today we're reading from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it's Adi Lila, chapter 1, text number 12 and 13. Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Mayaya Yasrajat Yada Tasyavatara.Evayam Advaita.Acarya Ishvaraha. Mahavishnu Jagat Karta Mayaya Yasrajat Yada Tasyavatara.Evayam Advaita.Acarya Ishvaraha. Mahavishnu, the resting place of the efficient cause. Jagat Karta, the creator of the cosmic world. Mayaya, by the illusory energy. Ya, who? Srijati, creates. Adaha, that universe. Tasya, his. Avatara, incarnation. Eva, certainly. Ayam, this. Advaita.Acarya, Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord, the resting place of the material cause. Translation: Lord Advaita.Acarya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. Text 13. Or please repeat. Lord Advaita.Acarya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. 13. Advaitam Harina Dvaita Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaita.Acarya Ashraye. Advaitam Harina Dvaita Advaitam Harina Tvaidad Advaitam Harina Advaitam Harina Dvaitad Acharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavataram Isham Tam Advaita.Acarya Ashraye. Advaitam, known as Advaita. Harina, with Lord Hari. Advaitad, from being non-different. Acharyam, known as Acharya. Bhakti Shamshanat, from the propagation of devotional service to Sri Krishna. Bhaktavataram, the incarnation as a devotee. Isham, to the Supreme Lord. Tam, to him. Advaita.Acaryam, to Advaita.Acarya. Ashraye, I surrender. Translation: because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of Lord's devotee, therefore I take shelter of him. Please repeat. Because he is non-different from Hari, the Supreme Lord, he is called Advaita. And because he propagates the cult of devotion, he is called Acharya. He is the Lord and the incarnation of the Lord's devotee. Therefore I take shelter of him. So today is Advaita.Acarya's Divine Appearance Day, and remembering the appearance of the Lord and the purpose for which he's appeared in this world, which is for us, is enlivening to the self and to one's practice of devotional service. The material world over which Advaita.Acarya, in his form as Mahavishnu, oversees. Not only oversees, but he also produces all the ingredients for the creation and then expands himself further in the in two Purushas, Garbhadakshay Vishnu and Kshirodakshay Vishnu, to maintain the universe. Altogether called as Shrishti Lila, this pastime of manifesting the material world, which is secular. It goes again and again, giving the living entities an opportunity to come back to Godhead. And this is the full intention of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for the living entities to come back to Godhead. Therefore, he gives many opportunities. When Ganga comes down to the material world, there are innumerable incarnations of the Lord who come at scheduled times in order to impart knowledge. And the Lord himself comes from time to time personally to the material world in order to attract the living entities to go back to Godhead. But do they become attracted? Do they take up the process of devotional service? Mostly not. They're offered many opportunities, and then they say, no thank you. I don't want any commentary. I don't I don't believe in God. They're agnostic, or they're even more ridiculously atheistic. And there are myriad philosophies in order to justify one's staying in the material world and enjoying. Therefore, it's mentioned in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that near the time for dissolving the universe again, the Lord in the form of Shankarshan becomes a little annoyed with the living entities. As many of you who have been on Sankirtan have been annoyed also when you show people a perfectly nice book about God, and it's got beautiful pictures, and you have the best of intentions. Like yesterday, there was some man on a motor scooter coming by the Harinam, and I kicked off my shoes. Works 99.9% of the time, but he waved me away with the wave of his wrist, like, get out of here, you little insect. And he meant it as a slight, not just to me, but to the entire Harinam Sankirtan, right there in Jagannath Puri. Beat it, punk. And was I annoyed? Very slightly. I've seen it before, at least 20,000 times. And the Lord is mentioned to become a little annoyed when the living entities, given so many opportunities, don't take to devotional service. It's so nice. It's sweet in every way, and it's beneficial to the self. But nuh-uh, I don't want it. And therefore, when he becomes annoyed, then the Rudras burst forth from his forehead, and they start their dance of destruction. They burn down the universe, but again, mercifully, the Lord, in the form of Mahavishnu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, again exhales after taking the whole thing in, comes back out again, and the idea of the Shrishti Lila is about the mercy of the Lord, offering an opportunity again and again to the living entities to take to the process of devotional service. Now, Madhavananda Prabhu mentioned the other day that his Guru Maharaj had said, and so does Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, that the only qualification of the living entities in the age of Kali is their disqualification. The more one becomes disqualified, the more one needs special care. Just like nowadays, people take advantage of this to go on the airline first before everybody else because they say they need a wheelchair. I don't know why 20 people need wheelchairs to get on every single flight, especially when they get up and walk perfectly fine afterwards. But in the Kali Yuga, it's a real need. People actually are debilitated. Prayanal Payashashavya Kalavasmin Yugejana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hupadrita. In the Iron Age of Kali, men have but short lives. They're quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. And the Lord brings a special kind of teaching in the age of Kali Yuga and comes himself as the Mahavadanyaya, the most merciful of all incarnations. And this is precipitated by Advaita.Acarya. And this is a great lesson from the appearance of Advaita.Acarya in this world, the method by which one can attract the pure bhakti into one's life. And that was exhibited when Advaita.Acarya called out for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. After all, he's most connected with this material creation because he's Mahavishnu. So he has a very deep sense of how the living entities are entangled in this Maya. He understands it, how it's going on, and he has great compassion for the living entities. He wants to see them saved. And therefore, feeling himself inadequate to save the living entities in the age of Kali, he calls out to the Supreme Personality of Godhead during his worship of his Shalagram Shila. As he appears as a householder, a teacher. He's worshipping at home the form of Vishnu in the form of Shalagram Shila. And from the Shastra, he remembers the verse that says that when you offer Tulsi and Ganges water to the Lord, then he becomes so grateful that he sells himself to the devotee. And there are verses in the Shastra, there's actually a song that describes the loud cries of Advaita.Acarya to be like the loud roaring of a lion. It was a vibration that could be heard all over the universe. And later on, we find in the Chaitanya Bhagavat the way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he used to call Advaita.Acarya affectionately Nara, because Advaita.Acarya used to keep a shaved head. And he would say, "You woke me up. I was sleeping on the milk ocean. And because of your loud cries, you woke me up to come here to this world." So Advaita.Acarya calls the Supreme Lord to come to this world and save the living entities who are suffering because of entanglement in the material nature, which is a very perplexing situation. Have you ever seen a bird in front of a big window and he sees his reflection? And I saw one day when we were in Sankirtan downtown, and there was a big bank and it had these large windows that had a reflective quality, and this bird kept bashing his head against the reflection because he thought he saw another bird, and he didn't want to share any of the area, so he kept smashing into it again and again. And this is the plight of living entities in the material world. They see this reflected image of the spiritual world in the modes of material nature, and they keep running into it and bashing their heads over and over again. And for somebody who's compassionate, you think, oh, let me help this person. Let me help these living entities. Advaita.Acarya is thinking like that. And the means by which he calls the Supreme Personality of Godhead is particularly instructive, because it's the loud cries, sincerely asking the Lord to appear. And this is the way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, because of the request of Sri Advaita.Acarya. So those who are engaged in devotional service can know from this that the most important aspect of our devotional practice is the intensity by which we call out to the Supreme Lord. If someone takes the opportunity to leave behind all other pretenses and calls out with abandon for the Lord to appear in his or her life, then certainly Lord Chaitanya will appear and give one service in the Sankirtan movement, and also help one to advance in devotional service. So Advaita.Acarya is older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by a little more than 50 years. So you can imagine how when Mahaprabhu appears in this world, he is so much younger than Advaita.Acarya. But Advaita.Acarya recognized that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the Mahaprabhu, And he attempted to worship him in many ways, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wouldn't accept his worship, because keeping the etiquette, he's treated Advaita.Acarya as a superior and as a senior. And this exhibits another of the great esoteric truths of devotional service, and that is that all of the manifestations of the Lord, even after Lord Krishna, first there's Krishna and then Balaram, and then Mahasankarsana, and then the Chaturvyuha, and then there are many, many expansions that come from there. And all of them have a mood of a servitorship. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes much of this within the Chaitanya Charitamrita to explain this service attitude of Advaita.Acarya. He wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So does Lord Balaram and all the other expansions of the Lord. Now, sometimes people think this is polytheism, but actually it's not. The Lord is unlimited, and he can expand himself as one. He can also come in many varieties. And this is our ultimate ontological truth in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, is worshipping the Panchatattva in 5 features. And there's the 3 Prabhus. Mahaprabhu, who is Sri Chaitanya, and then you have Advaita and Nityananda, who are also Vishnu Tattva, and they're also Prabhus, and they're the main branches in the tree of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then you have Srivas Thakur, who's the living entity, pure devotee of the Lord. And then you have the Shakti, which is who is Gadadhar Pandit, and who is the manifestation of Srimati Radharani, Shakti. And these 5 combined form the absolute truth. Therefore we say Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. And all these Prabhus and devotees and the Shakti all worship Mahaprabhu. So this service attitude is coveted by anyone who's advanced in knowledge. And this is a reminder that the ultimate purpose of life is to develop this service attitude to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as Advaita.Acarya went out of his way to establish himself as a servitor of the Lord. In the material world, there's a way in which one wants to be the master of everyone. But this is not possible because we're Prakriti. But Advaita.Acarya shows the way that one can unlimitedly develop the service attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the prime objective of one's life. Advaita.Acarya was, as I mentioned, 50 years older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was always trying to worship Mahaprabhu, who respected him as a spiritual master. So he devised a trick to induce Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to treat him as a servant. So Advaita.Acarya is known as Advaita because he's non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's also called Acharya because he teaches the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And every day he would hold open class. This is another lesson that we can take. So far we have 2. What are the first 2? I didn't make them very clear, did I? One is, it's the quality of the tone of your voice. Has anybody ever told you they didn't like the tone of your voice? Anybody? With a spouse, your kids, family members? You could say something, but it's the tone of the voice. Dogs recognize it. If you say, "Oh, you stupid little doggy," they're like, but if it's like, "Doggy, I love you," then they'll run away. So the tone of voice is very important. It's mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam that the pure devotees have a certain quality to their voice that is indicative of saffron mercy particles, because their voice touches the lotus feet of the Lord. It mixes with the saffron particles there, and when it enters one's ears, it has this special quality that transforms one's heart immediately. So the quality of sound is very important. And as we know from japa seminars, the common metaphor about the mother taking care of a child, mothers know the different sounds of a child. If it's extremely dangerous situation, the child has such a pitch and tone to its voice that the mother will come running from wherever she is to come help the child. And other kinds of sounds she can also discern are not as severe or important. So the tone in which we call out to the Lord is very important. And Advaita.Acharya's loud cries are what invited the Lord to come to the world. So one can remember this. And also, just as a sub-point to that, as a lesson to take from Advaita.Acharya's life, is that he looked very carefully in the scripture to find the way in which to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Which way did he find? Tulsi and Ganga water. He found it from the scripture, so he knew this would work. And so he offered some Tulsi, Ganges water, and then he called loud cries. He called out to propitiate the Lord and invite him to come. So one can do that. And what was the second lesson? Yeah, but what's the essential part? Everyone's a servant. Chaitanya Dasa Mui, Chaitanya Das, Chaitanya Dasa Mui, Dasa or Das and a Das. There's a way that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya, I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya, I'm a servant of Lord Chaitanya, and a servant of his servants. This is the mood of Advaita.Acharya and of all the incarnations of the Lord, including Lord Balaram. Service to the Lord is most coveted. So if the incarnations of the Lord are, then the implication is that we should too. Don't try to be the master, try to be the servant. Try to get more service. Try to be a better servant. And the third lesson I was just about to mention, where was I going? What? Open class, yeah. And that is that anyone can hold an open class in Bhagavad Gita and start an international sensation. Just by open class, anywhere, if you teach Bhagavad Gita as it is, like Advaita.Acharya. If you go visit his two homes in Mayapur, you'll see there's one in Shantipur, and there's one Advaita Bhavan that's right near Srivasangam. And there, this is a very simple, rural kind of place. But he just sat down and it started teaching the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And because of that, the Sankirtan movement started to form. I mean, so many great personalities came, like Shankararanya, the brother of Lord Chaitanya, the elder brother of Lord Chaitanya, came, and he used to listen to Advaita.Acharya every day. He went off and took sannyas. And then the Sankirtan movement really started to form, even before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, around Advaita.Acharya's classes on Bhagavad Gita. So I guess the third lesson is never underestimate the power of holding an open Bhagavad Gita class. You could do it in your home. You can do it in a trailer. You can do it in a park. You could do it anywhere. You can be nobody and be in an unrecognized city that's unincorporated. And you could start by having a Bhagavad Gita class, and if you just follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas by reading the Bhagavad Gita and explaining it just as it's been passed down to you, then the power of the disciplic succession will manifest right in your own house. And miracles will happen. And Prabhupada created a miracle based on this principle. He did just what Advaita.Acharya did. He came to New York City with nothing. And he sat in a park and nobody even recognized him at first. And then he'd go home, he put a little card on the wall saying, you know, open class on Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because Advaita.Acharya did it. He's the great universal teacher. Hold Bhagavad Gita class to the public. And he just did it every day. And then because of that, in 10 years, he did what is impossible to do, and that is to conquer the entire world. There have been other conquerors, like, who were some of the conquerors? Napoleon, William, Alexander. Here's our history pundit. Alexander, William the Conqueror, etc., etc. Pol Pot. There's so many. And they were able to conquer some land. Of course, it got given back later. But probably did something even harder, that even during the times when Christian missionaries went around and they said, you know, take this or we'll just kill you. And because it's hard to get people to take stuff. You can experiment for yourself. And but Srila Prabhupada, within 10 years, he got everybody to take it all over the world. He conquered not just land, but he conquered people, their hearts, and they took it in. So this was taught by Advaita.Acarya, that hold open Bhagavad Gita class as it is, and just teach and invite people to come over into your place, and then what will happen is beyond your imagination. Don't get overheated and start thinking about all kinds of fancy things that you have to do, big buildings that you have to build, and collecting money and so forth. Just get yourself a Bhagavad Gita. Even if it's not in very good shape, even if the cover's falling off. It's Bhagavad Gita. And just read it every day and invite people to come there and then discuss it. And talk about how we're servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And call out loudly, like Lord Advaita.Acarya did. If you get a group like that, a little group, and you call out loudly, all of you, all three of you, in your new little group, and you read the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you offer a little tulsi. You don't even have enough money you can make a little soup, and then you can offer some tulsi and Ganges water to the Lord. Then you'll be successful, and all the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will manifest in your very house. It will become non-different from Advaita.Acarya's house. The power of using these basic principles that Advaita.Acarya used. And so Advaita.Acarya wanted to show that he was the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so he played a trick. And one day during his Bhagavad Gita class, he started teaching that Gyan was higher than Bhakti. And the news got out really fast that something bogus was going on over at Advaita.Acarya's house. You know how news travels fast in the devotee community, even without the internet. And everyone started hearing about it, and Mahaprabhu heard about it. He said, "What? I'll go punish him." So he went there to Advaita.Acarya's house, and even though Advaita.Acarya was 50 years older than him, he was an old, manifesting the pastime of being an elderly man, Mahaprabhu, they dragged him off his Vyasa-san and said, "Which is higher, Gyan or Bhakti?" And Vaisesika said, "Gyan, Gyan, Gyan." And Mahaprabhu started beating him. And Sita Thakurani came running out. He said, "It's an old man. You'll kill him. Be careful." What a scene. But Mahaprabhu, he lost it that day, and he started beating Advaita.Acarya in front of everybody. And then suddenly Advaita.Acarya began to dance and smile and say, now we know I'm your servant and you're my master. And never again will there be a question about this. Advaita.Acarya. That's cool. So he's Advaita, he's non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's the Acharya, and he has great compassion for us and for the world. He wanted to see that people would be delivered from the material nature. And this is the business of an Acharya. Acharya means compassion. And that at all costs, I want to make sure that everybody gets to come along. Everybody. And this is the way Acharyas think. And Prabhupada speaks about this throughout his teachings. It was also the mood of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. All the great Acharyas, they have great compassion for the living entities. And they want to see that they're given an opportunity to come in contact with the holy names, with the transcendental literature, with Krishna Prasadam. It's their greatest satisfaction. That's what they do. So we get the great opportunity. We have the opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Advaita.Acarya and mold our lives around these principles that he taught, and also develop this same kind of impetus for giving everybody in the world the opportunity to take to Krishna consciousness. And now I'll take a few reflections. Anything that you heard that stuck so far? Yes, Kanka.
Well, I like the 3 principles when you said the tone of the voice. And I always think about that when I listen to Srila Prabhupada's classes, because the tone of the voice is so valuable. And then the other one is the, what's the second one? It's the servant, yeah, how even Balaram is the servant, wants to serve. Everyone wants to serve, even Balaram. He makes everything nice before the appearance of Krishna. And what was the third one? Oh yeah, open class. I love that. Like, put a sign up and just say, open Bhagavad Gita class. It's such a valuable thing to help people to understand, and how Sri Advaita had that compassion because he was feeling so sad about the suffering of the people at that time, and how there was so much nonsense going on and everyone was suffering so much. And when we look around us, it's the exact same thing. It's everyone's suffering so much.
Thank you, Kanka. Satyade Prabhu.
You mentioned one of the 3 lessons we can learn from Advaita.Acarya is to hold the open Bhagavad Gita class, and you mentioned how Srila Prabhupada followed that example. And I just remember when we went to Shantipur last year, you mentioned how Srila Prabhupada went there to pray to Advaita.Acarya just before he began his mission. And I was just wondering if you could say more about that.
We've heard the story about how Srila Prabhupada went to the Shantipur temple and prayed, and his prayers were intense. Of course, no one can understand from an external point of view watching somebody pray exactly what they're praying, but one could understand the intensity, perhaps, of somebody's prayers. And the pujari there saw Prabhupada praying and made a friendship with him, because it's a quiet place normally, at least it was back then, until Prabhupada spread a worldwide movement, and now everyone's coming everywhere all over the world in millions, in the millions of buses and cars. But he made a friendship with him, and apparently during that time the pujari had affectionately approached him and was just wondering about this sadhu, or this this personality who was coming there and praying so much. And the topic came up of what his mission was and what his purpose in life was. And so Srila Prabhupada explained to the pujari that he had been given an impossible assignment, and that was to take the Krishna consciousness movement and spread it to the Western world. And at that time, of course, nobody could even fathom the magnitude or how this could be enacted, because in fact it was known, I've heard, that people considered that must have meant that when Mahaprabhu says in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that this movement will be spread to every town and village of the world, that must have meant either Bengal or at most India, but the rest of the world, it's not even conceivable. So Prabhupada had this inconceivable mission in mind that he had taken from his spiritual master, and so he was praying how to do this, and he was crying in the same mood of Advaita.Acarya. He was crying, how can I do? How can I do? In fact, Prabhupada says in a lecture, he says, when you're given an assignment by your guru, and you don't know how to do it, and you don't have the wherewithal to do it, you should pray, how can I do? How can I do? How can I do? So this was the mood of Prabhupada when he came to this Shantipur temple and was praying to Advaita.Acarya. We can only imagine that he had imbibed the same mood and was praying in the same way. So then this was a notable event to the pujari there. who then didn't see him again because this elderly gentleman was talking about going away to the West, and it didn't seem plausible to anybody. And then later, when Westerners, fast forward, as they say, and there, what happened was unimaginable. That Prabhupada came, he held open Bhagavad Gita class just like Advaita.Acarya. He taught people how to call out just like Advaita.Acarya had done, just calling the holy name. He told them simple things like install a deity just like Advaita.Acarya did, and offer, if you don't have much, just offer a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, just with devotion. The same thing Advaita.Acarya did. And so, because of that, Prabhupada had started a worldwide movement, and now there were Germans, and there were Australians. Hey, mate, Hare Krishna. I mean, no Bengalis ever seen an Australian before. We'd never seen him before either. Before we joined the Hare Krishna movement, I remember the first time I went to Vrindavan, and a big German came up to me and said, "Give me the Madunga." I was like, okay, all right. I mean, where are all these people coming from? And so suddenly now, at that Advaita.Acarya's temple, which used to be a quiet little place, a couple Bengalis would come there and worship. A few people who knew about the esoteric nature of Advaita.Acarya. Not many people knew that. But suddenly these other Westerners started showing up. And then the same Pujari, and he became very curious, like, where'd you come from? And they showed him, Back to Godhead magazine. And then he looked and he saw Prabhupada, and he recognized this is the same Babu who came here before, who said he was going to the West to start an international movement. And he just broke down that how could this have happened? And by the mercy of Advaita.Acarya, he said he has done it. He's done it. This is the most astonishing thing in the world. I mean, if we say it's astonishing that the Advaita.Acarya had called the Supreme Personality of Godhead to come to the world, take a look what Prabhupada did, using the same three techniques. This simple, pure devotional method. It's not complicated, it's simple. And simply follow the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Call out to the Lord with real feeling. And feel yourself a servant. Like Prabhupada was when he went to the West. He took that same service mood of Advaita.Acarya. And he served everybody. I love Mukunda Maharaj's book when Prabhupada opened a loft and then he held a feast. And everyone came in, all these people. Hey, it's a party, we'll go in. And so Prabhupada went around himself with the pots and he served everybody. And they would have these plates. Mukunda Maharaj said, Prabhupada would come around and he'd say, take, 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 take. I love that mantra. Take, take. They're like, yeah, take, take, take. That was Prabhupada's mood. Take, take. And he wanted everybody to have it. That was the essence of Advaita.Acarya's mood. Take, take. Let everybody take this. And so Prabhupada just followed that, and it happened. We have time for a couple more. Yes?
How it was Advaita.Acarya's mood to take, So I believe Chaitanya Bhagavat describes that after Lord Chaitanya, after Advaita.Acarya was very happy to be the servant, Lord Chaitanya actually offered him some benedictions. And the benedictions, I don't remember them all, I only remember the one that pertains to me. But it was basically benedictions for everybody in different categories to be able to take up bhakti. And one of them was women. He specifically requested that.
Yes, that I do remember from the Chaitanya Mangal. And do you remember the specific pastime in Chaitanya Bhagavat? It was at the same time of that? Yeah. And a similar thing appears in the Chaitanya Mangal when Lord Shiva's wife becomes annoyed with her husband, Lord Shiva, because he had received some Mahaprasadam from Narada Muni. And he didn't he didn't offer any to his wife. And she said, well, what is this? And she became, in that time, there was a manifestation of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a harbinger, how he would appear in the Kali Yuga. And she had asked him for the benediction that you give bhakti to everybody in the Kali Yuga. Don't discriminate between who's fit or unfit. And that was the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he came. And so, yeah, it would be good to go back and I'll look carefully at that section because it's a really good point you brought up about how... Oh, here comes the microphone.
It just seems an appropriate place to repeat what you said. Acharya means to make sure that everybody comes along. So I was thinking about Srila Prabhupada and how he made sure that Jamuna Devi and Malati and everybody can come along. Yeah,
that's really the mood. It's the mood of the Panchatattva, was they didn't consider it was a fit or unfit candidate or where was a good or bad place. They distributed everywhere, and there's this sense that everybody should come along. And this also we see in the mood of Shivananda Sain when the dog joined the party. This is the mood of fan the spark. Wherever you see it, wherever you see that impetus for devotional service, then we're meant to help fan that flame so that it comes out even more. And that's how acharyas think, how to build a huge framework so that everybody can come in and take part in the process of bhakti. Thank you for that point. Yes, Nagar, last point probably. So make it good.
That's exactly what you were doing, fanning the spark for this one Orissa, and the gentleman, he was helping distribute the books. Remember that?
Oh yeah, that was funny. People like to jump in when they see this Sankirtan going on. It's like, I want to be part. So there's this one young man. He must have been 20, 25, 22 or something like that. He saw us, how we were getting everybody to give. I mean, everybody gave. These cards should be illegal. You give him the lollipop, then you give him the Jagannath sticker, then you give him the appropriate book, and then you hand him the card, and you stand really straight and don't say a word. Don't mess it up. And just wait. And when they look up at you to see if you know what's really happening, you go, I know what's happening, and you know what's happening. So just make a decision, because we're not messing around here. And then they go, okay, I got it. You know, and sometimes when they're standing with their friends, you know, the one guy's trying to pretend like, I don't know what's going on. The friends are going, you know what's going on. Give him a donation. So everybody gives. And so this one guy, young guy, he saw that, yeah, this is cool. I like this. And so he started coming around, and every time we'd start talking to somebody, he'd come up and he'd hang over their shoulder and go, give him 10 rupees. Huh? He was a handicapped? Yeah. And we see this. People want to join in the Sankirtan movement because there's nothing more fun than the Sankirtan movement. You can't have any more fun than that. And people, when we were going door to door in Denver, some guy, he bought a book and then he goes, I'm going to help you guys. And he comes running out and he was pointing, this door, this door, this door. Take that one. Then he across the street, just go to that guy's house, you know. I know him. He should take a book. And they get so excited. That's really what carries the Sankirtan movement. Yes.
In the kirtan yesterday, also Madhavananda grabbed Havi Prabhu. He grabbed one man, like one guy was standing there, and he must have been gesticulating that he was like could play the murdanga. So then Havi Prabhu like called him over, and then all his friends pushed him forward, and he started playing murdanga.
Oh wow!
And then there was one devotee also. I just handed him the mic, and he just started leading.
I heard that he was really good.
He was really good.
Yeah. A fantastic kirtans yesterday. Havi's bringing it down into the confluence there at Grand Avenue. It just felt like with all the generations coming together, and then you could see people coming in and dancing, and you could see how this can catch on. It's very catchy. So we'll pray to Lord Advaita.Acarya. Oh yes.
Yes. One boy, one young person, was praying in front of Jagannath temple. His age was like this, Prabhuji Maharaj. Then Deen Gopal said, this person will take book. Then I request Prabhuji to give me Bhagavad Gita. When I gave Bhagavad Gita to him, he was crying like this person, Prabhuji Maharaj. Your tears in the eyes. Then I asked, why you are crying? Then he said, these are the, you can say, tears of happiness. So big experience for me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we may call an audible here, right at the line of scrimmage. Because there's a suggestion by our Mahant, Madhavananda Prabhu, that we go to Sri Advaita's house instead of Sarvabhauma's house. What's the story? You want to tell us any more about that before we make our choice? What does it involve? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, it's...
What do we get out of it?
That's the place. There's deities there of Advaita and his wife and Nityananda Mahaprabhu and Radhakrishna deities that were worshipped by Advaita.Acarya, small Radhakrishna deities. And it's a place where he was staying 500 years ago. It's a very kind of secret place, but a nice place for a group also. It's a quiet place. From the Gambhira, it's about, if we walked, it would be at least a half an hour, probably with a group. But by rickshaw, by auto rickshaw, we could get there in 5 minutes from the Gambhira. And there's some pastimes that happened there. Nice place.
At what time of his life did he live in?
When Mahaprabhu would come to Puri, Advaita would come.
He would come for the Rath Yatra.
He would bring ingredients to cook for him and things. There's some stories in Chaitanya Bhagavat.
Yeah.
Things about it.
Isn't it? Well, I mean, thinking about seeing Advaita.Acharya's deities on Advaita.Acharya's appearance day. So the audible has been called then. We'll go today. I mean, even as I'm saying this, we're feeling intense separation from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house. So we'll have to make some separate arrangement. But today we'll go first to Gambhira, and then, if possible, we could take rickshaws. I don't know if that's possible, but if it is, Mukaravinda will figure it out. If it is, I'm just saying if, no pressure. But we could do that, or we could walk half an hour and do a lot of book distribution. But it's something like that. So let's do that. What do you all say? Good, right? Okay. Srila Advaita.Acharya ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Transcendental book distribution, which Advaita.Acharya will really like, as much as possible. And by the way, there are techniques to make it more effective, book distribution. So be attentive to those who are doing it well and consistently well. You don't have to invent your own method. And if you watch and see how it works, it can be more effective. If you run up to people and just give them the book first, sometimes they don't know what's going on. But if you start, we found, I mean, there are many techniques, but if you start with a lollipop, no one refuses a lollipop, even monkeys will take them. And then you give them a Jagannath sticker. That people have never seen these before. These are a great treasure to have. And then you hand them the book. Then you hand them the card. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. And then wait for the donation. Then you'll see. It's very effective. Go Premanande Haribo. Vansha Kalpadurvascha Kripasanabhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Natari Armarman. Natari Armarman. Natari Armarman. Hey! Natari Armarman. Natari Armarman. Natari Armarman. Natari Armarman.